The last time I spoke to my son's best friend, he came over after school and said, "I don't want to go home yet." I let him stay for dinner, but the next day we got a call from the police, and I've replayed that visit every night since wondering what I missed. My name's Rachel, and I live in a small town about 20 minutes outside Richmond, Virginia. Not the kind of place that ends up on the news unless a storm knocks out the power or the high school wins state championships. People know each other around here. Not deep friendships, but enough to wave in passing and ask about your mama. I've lived in the same 3-bedroom house for 15 years. Raised my son, Caleb, here.
Just me and him.
His dad left when Caleb was 3, and I haven't heard from him since. At first, I thought he might come back around, maybe when Caleb got older.
He didn't.
So I did everything myself. 2 jobs, packed lunches, every parent-teacher meeting. All of it. Caleb's always been a quiet boy. Keeps to himself. Never got in trouble growing up. No yelling matches, no sneaking out. A little shy but kind. The kind of kid who holds doors open for strangers. I'm not trying to paint him like a saint. He had his mood swings and teenage sulking, but he was good. Or I thought he was. His best friend was Jaden. They met in 5th grade and were inseparable ever since. Jaden lived a few blocks over with his mom and stepdad. I didn't know much about the family. I'd seen his mom once or twice at school functions, always quiet, pale, didn't make eye contact. I never met the stepdad. Jaden practically lived at our place. After school, weekends, summers. He had a key for a while even. We fed him, let him hang out, treated him like part of the family. I just figured things at his place weren't great, and we had the space. Now I can't stop thinking about one night in October. It was a Thursday. I was working from home, sitting at the kitchen table doing reports when the front door opened. Caleb's door creaked upstairs, then Jaden's voice called out, "Hey, Miss Rachel."
He always said it like that.
Casual, like he belonged there. But this time he said something else. "I don't want to go home yet." I looked up. He was standing in the entryway, shoulders hunched like he was cold. Hoodie zipped all the way up, hands shoved deep in the pockets. He wouldn't look at me when he said it. Just stared at the floor. I asked if everything was all right. He shrugged. "Just tired," he said. Caleb came downstairs then, and they disappeared into the living room to play Xbox. I didn't think much of it. Teenagers don't exactly come with a manual, and Jaden had stayed late plenty of times before. I figured maybe he had a fight with his mom or needed a break. I let it go. But now I remember the way his voice sounded when he said that. Low, almost like he was asking for something without actually saying it. Dinner rolled around, and I made spaghetti. Asked Jaden if he was hungry, and he nodded fast. Like, immediately. Sat at the table before I even had the plates out. He ate like he hadn't eaten all day. That's when I noticed the bruise. He took his hoodie off and there it was, right below the collarbone, dark and yellowing around the edges. It wasn't a fresh bruise, but it was bad. I stared at it a second too long, and he pulled his shirt up instinctively. Said nothing. I wanted to ask. I should have asked, but I didn't. We finished dinner, and he said thank you like he always did, quiet, polite, and left around 8. Caleb walked him to the corner and came back like it was just another night. It wasn't. The next morning my phone rang. 9:13 a.m. I remember the time exactly, because I just poured my first cup of coffee. It was the police. Jaden was in the hospital. His stepdad had been arrested. His mom was found dead. They were asking questions. Had Jaden said anything? Done anything? Did I notice anything strange? And all I could think about was the way he said, "I don't want to go home yet." That line. Over and over in my head. The bruise. The way he ate dinner. The way he didn't say goodbye like he usually did. He just sort of left. I kept thinking that was the end of it. That we were just witnesses to something horrible. That we missed the signs. That Jaden was a victim. And maybe he was. But that wasn't the full story. Because what I didn't know, what I wouldn't find out for months, was that Caleb knew what was happening at Jaden's house. He knew. Not just little things, not just Jaden's stepdad yells a lot kind of stuff. I mean real things. Dangerous things. And he never told me. Not the night it happened. Not after the police called. Not even when Jaden went missing. Because, yeah, he disappeared. After the hospital stay, he was put in temporary foster care. Then one day he was just gone. No contact. No forwarding info. No goodbye to Caleb. He vanished. I didn't know what to do. We weren't family, so I didn't get any updates. Caleb stopped talking about him completely. And then, 3 months later, I found something. A notebook. Caleb had shoved it behind his dresser. Inside were letters. From Jaden. Not mailed letters. Just written ones.
Dozens of them.
Some dated months before that night. Some written like confessions. Some filled with stuff no kid should have to think about. And some addressed to Caleb. One said, "If you don't say anything, I will. You know what he's doing. If anything happens to me, it's on you too." That letter was dated 4 days before the night he came over. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after that. I asked Caleb about it. I confronted him. At first, he denied it. Said Jaden was dramatic. That he was making stuff up for attention. That it wasn't serious.
But I saw the way his hands shook.
The way his eyes darted everywhere, but mine. And then he said, "I didn't think he'd actually do anything. I thought he was bluffing." That sentence broke something in me. Because something was done. Something irreversible. And I was now looking at my son in a way I never had before. That was just the beginning. Because after that, more came out. More secrets. More lies. And eventually something worse. Something that made me question whether the boy I raised was just a bystander, or if he played a part in what really happened that night. And that's when the real story started. It wasn't just about Jaden anymore. It was about Caleb. And me. And what revenge really looks like when the people you love are the ones who cause the pain. After I found the notebook, I couldn't stop shaking. It felt like I was holding a live wire, and no matter how many times I read those pages, my hands wouldn't stop trembling. The things Jaden wrote were too real. Too detailed.
He described what his stepdad did.
The bruises. The nights he'd hide in the closet. The times he ran to the backyard in the middle of the night just to get away. He even wrote about watching his mom get hit and not being able to do anything about it. But the worst part wasn't what happened to Jaden. It was how often he mentioned Caleb. Sometimes in anger, sometimes in fear, sometimes begging. Jaden trusted him. Told him things. Begged him to speak up. And Caleb didn't. I sat Caleb down at the kitchen table that night. I didn't yell.
I was too stunned for that.
I just slid the notebook over to him and waited. He didn't even touch it. "Where did you find that?" he asked, quiet. "Behind your dresser." His jaw clenched. He looked down at the floor and stayed that way for a long time. "I didn't think he was serious," he finally said. I stayed quiet. He told me stuff, but he always joked around. I didn't know what was real. Asked him why he didn't tell me. He said, because he asked me not to. He said if I told, things would get worse. I asked, but things did get worse. His mom's dead. He stared at me like he didn't know what to say. Then he got up and walked to his room. That silence between us stretched for weeks. We still lived under the same roof, but it was like we were strangers. Every time I looked at him, I saw something I didn't recognize. But then, something happened that ripped the floor out from under me. About 6 weeks after I found the notebook, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name on the front. The handwriting was messy.
Shaky.
Inside was a single piece of paper. It was from Jaden. Not old, not part of the notebook. This one was new. He was still out there. He wrote, "I'm safe.
Don't trust Caleb."
He told him everything. That sentence hit me like a punch to the chest. I read it 3 times, then again, slower. He told who everything? I didn't understand. I brought it up to Caleb that night, held the letter in my hand, and stared at him across the dinner table. Jaden says you told someone. What is he talking about? Caleb froze. I saw it in his eyes. He knew exactly what I meant. I didn't mean to, he said, finally. It was just one time. I was scared. That's when it clicked. He told the stepdad. Not on purpose, maybe. But he told him. I asked him how. He said they were at Jaden's house one day after school. The stepdad overheard something. Jaden had been mouthing off about running away, about exposing him. Caleb told me he tried to calm things down. Said he told the stepdad it was all talk. That Jaden was just acting tough. But I think he used it, Caleb said, staring at the floor. I think he waited. I lost it. I stood up and shouted at him. Something I hadn't done since he was a little boy. You knew what he was doing. You knew. And you defended him. Caleb just kept saying, I didn't mean to. I didn't think he'd actually hurt her. I felt sick. Jaden's stepdad killed his mom. That's a fact. But Caleb opened the door. He gave that monster the fuel. And now Jaden was gone, somewhere out there, and he was afraid of my son. And then this is the part one still struggle with. I started to wonder if Caleb wanted her gone. If he thought that would fix it. If he believed it would make things easier for Jaden to finally leave. I started seeing everything differently. I went back through old texts, old photos. I looked at Jaden's face in every one of them. He was scared. You could see it now, looking back. And my son just stood there beside him. Let it happen. But the letter from Jaden, it meant something else too. He didn't just run.
He was planning something.
He was watching. And he didn't want forgiveness. He wanted payback. And I had a sick feeling that Caleb was in danger. Or maybe that he deserved to be. After I read Jaden's letter 10 more times, something in me shifted. I stopped seeing Caleb as a child. He wasn't one anymore, not in my eyes. I kept asking myself how long he'd been lying to me. How long had he stood in my kitchen, eating my food, sleeping under my roof, while a boy was being beaten and starved just down the road? And now, Jaden was saying Caleb betrayed him. It didn't make sense. Or maybe it made too much sense, and I just didn't want to believe it. I started digging. I couldn't help myself. I went through Caleb's phone while he was asleep. He deleted most of his messages, but there were fragments. Things that didn't sit right. A message from months ago to a number not in his contacts. He said he's gonna run. I told him not to be stupid. And then a reply. Good. That kid needs to be scared. He talks too much. I froze when I read that. I checked the number. It wasn't Jaden's. I ran it through an online reverse search. The name that popped up stopped my heart. Dylan Mercer. Jaden's stepdad. I don't know how Kayla got in touch with him. I don't know why he talked to him at all. But he did. And more than once. I found 4 messages back and forth, all before the night Jaden showed up saying he didn't want to go home. I didn't confront Caleb right away. I needed to know more. I started calling around. A friend of mine from high school worked as a nurse at the hospital where Jaden was taken that night. I asked if she knew anything. I lied and said it was for a school essay Caleb was doing on domestic abuse. She told me something that didn't make the news. Jaden wasn't alone in the house when the cops came. There were signs someone else had been there before the police arrived. Someone who left through the back. A second set of shoes in the mud. Too big to be Jaden's. And that person had let themselves in, not broken in. No forced entry. I asked if they ever found out who it was. She said no. The cops had guesses, but nothing stuck. I hung up and sat in my car, just staring out at nothing. Something ugly was growing in the pit of my stomach. So I went further. I looked up the police report. Took me 2 weeks and a lot of back and forth, but I got part of it. Jaden's mom had been strangled.
Quiet.
No screams, no signs of a fight. But get this, she was found on the floor, near the kitchen table. A plate of food had been knocked over. Someone had been eating with her. Someone she trusted. I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. But what if it wasn't Dylan? What if someone else was there first? What if someone softened her up, calmed her down, gave her a false sense of safety before Dylan showed up and finished it? I confronted Caleb that night.
And he cracked.
First, he denied it. Then I showed him the text messages. Then I told him what the police found at the house. He panicked. He started crying, real shaking sobs, and said, I didn't think he'd do it that night. I asked, so you were there?
He said yes.
He said Jaden called him earlier that day. Said his mom wanted to talk to someone. That she didn't know how to leave Dylan, but she wanted to. Caleb went over. Ate dinner with her and Jaden. Said it felt normal. Said Jaden went upstairs after dinner and left them alone in the kitchen. He said Jaden's mom was shaking, trying to hold it together. He left around 7:30. And by 9 p.m., she was dead. But here's the thing, when I asked him if he called anyone after he left 911, the police, he said no. He just went home. Played video games. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to grab his shoulders and shake him until he understood what he'd done. But I didn't. Because I realized something worse. I wasn't just dealing with guilt. I was dealing with someone who was hiding something deeper. Because if Caleb had just left and gone home, why did Jaden write he told him everything? Caleb was lying.
Still.
I started locking my bedroom door at night after that. I didn't recognize the boy across the hallway anymore. And I had a sick feeling in my gut that Jaden wasn't just out there hiding.
He was planning something.
And maybe, just maybe, he wanted me to help him do it. 2 weeks after Caleb broke down and told me he was there the night Jaden's mom died, I got another letter. Same handwriting. No return address. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. The letter said, I need you to come alone. I need you to hear the truth from me. Not from him. I need to show you something. Saturday, 5 p.m., the old RV lot on Ashland Road. You'll know where to look. I don't know why I went. Maybe I needed to look Jaden in the eyes. Maybe I needed to know the full truth. Or maybe some twisted part of me wanted to be part of what was coming. Because I knew what this was. Jaden wasn't done. And after everything I had learned, I wasn't sure I wanted to stop him. I left the house around 4:30 that Saturday and didn't tell Caleb where I was going. I didn't even leave a note. I drove in silence with my hands clenching the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. The RV lot had been shut down for years. Just broken down campers and weeds pushing through cracked pavement. When I pulled in, I saw one old camper with the door slightly open. I stepped out and walked toward it. Heart pounding. Inside, Jaden was waiting. He looked older. Thinner. Dark circles under his eyes. But it was him. He didn't say anything at first. He just handed me something. It was a thumb drive. And a burner phone. I need you to watch this, he said. Then decide what to do. You're the only one left who might do the right thing. I didn't ask questions. I didn't cry. I just nodded. I went home, locked my bedroom door, plugged the drive into my old laptop. What I saw made me sick. Jaden had filmed everything. Every bruise. Every injury. Every time Dylan came home drunk and screaming. He'd hidden a phone in the vents. He had video of Caleb visiting. Audio of Caleb laughing with Dylan. Talking about Jaden needing to man up. Saying he makes stuff up to get attention. Then there was one clip that stopped my breath. A hidden recording of Caleb in Dylan's garage. His voice clear as day. Look, if you just scare him a little, he'll shut up. He won't go to the cops. Dylan, you sure you want me to handle this? Caleb, just make sure his mom doesn't freak out and call someone. Get him under control. The date on the video? 3 days before Jaden's mom died. I sat there shaking. My whole body cold. My son, my own son, had handed Jaden over. Not out of fear. Not by accident. On purpose. He thought he was being clever. Thought if Dylan scared Jaden enough, he'd fall back in line. Stop pushing. Stop asking for help. Caleb didn't want trouble. He wanted quiet. Jaden's mom was collateral damage. I threw up in my bathroom sink. The next day, I drove to the police station. I gave them the thumb drive. I gave them the burner phone. I told them everything I knew. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Jaden wasn't done. 2 nights later, Caleb disappeared. Vanished. No note. No sign of struggle. Just gone. I called the police. I filed the report. But deep down, I already knew. Jaden had him. And I didn't stop it. 3 days later, I got one last letter. This one was short. Just a single sentence. You raised him. Now you live with him. I didn't know what it meant at first. Until I found the second thumb drive in my mailbox a week later. It was a video. Jaden had tied Caleb to a chair in the same camper I visited. He wasn't beating him. He was talking. He listed every time Caleb ignored his cries for help. Every time he joked about the bruises. Every time he sat by while Jaden went home to hell. And then he walked out of the frame. Left Caleb there. Tied up. No food. No water. The camera rolled. For 3 days. No sound but breathing and crying and silence. Then the screen went black. I didn't show it to the cops. They still list Caleb as a missing person. No one's found the camper. No one's found Jaden. And me? I still live in that same house. But every night I sit in the kitchen, staring at that front door, replaying the first moment Jaden said, "I don't want to go home yet." I could have saved him. I should have. But I didn't. And now? Now I know what happens when you ignore someone who's drowning. They don't just sink. They come back. And they drag you under with them.